Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the Feelnever FN1802 500-meter diver watch. Let's start with the wrist check. Since I'm doing a 500-meter dive watch, I'm wearing my Phoebus 500-meter dive watch, the Leviathan. And Grogo is wearing my Neymar 300-meter dive watch. Grogo said he saw Han Solo and Princess Leia arguing at the Mos Eisley Hobby Lobby the other day. Han said, "You better stay the hell off Pinterest till you get your other projects done." She said, "I didn't find this on Pinterest. I saw it on Etsy." He said, "Excuse me, your worship. The Falcon's cargo hold isn't full of crap to make stuff you found on Pinterest. It's full of crap to make stuff you found on Etsy. But it's still full of crap." She said, "The only thing full of crap is you." He's never seen them happier. All right, let's take a look at the watch. The watch is a Feelnever, but came in a box that says Foxbox. And we all know that Foxbox is a subsidiary of Liege. And then it comes with the unsigned warranty card and the instructions. And then here's the watch. The watch didn't have a little pillow or anything in it because it didn't need one, because it's so, the head's so big it's not going to fall in the cracks of the foam. But here it is. This is a true tank of a watch, and I don't mean a Cartier tank, I mean an M1 Abrams tank. The only way to make this thing heavier would be to make it out of depleted uranium. Yes, this is a big watch. This is the first Feelnever on my channel. Feelnever is yet another Chinese watch brand name where you wish they had a native English speaker on staff to tell them it was a bad idea. Since the box says Foxbox, I assume that Feelnever is a Liege watch sub-brand. This is by far the largest and heaviest watch I've ever owned. I dropped it on my foot the other day and it was quite painful. If you ever had a hankering to own an Omega Planet Ocean Ultra Deep or a Rolex Deep Sea Challenge, then this is basically the AliExpress equivalent to these watches. At 500 meters, this cannot go near as deep as those aforementioned Swiss luxury watches costing tens of thousands of dollars, but it is still a very impressive depth and the deepest watch I've ever had from AliExpress. This is still as deep as the all-titanium Tudor Pelagos. There are 3 different colorways. Besides this blue dial version, you can get it in brown. There is also a black dial, and that one comes with a black bezel, and I don't like it as much. It would have been nice if it came in titanium, which would have possibly make it about 80 grams lighter, but what do you want for under $100? The watch is 47.8 millimeters at the bezel, 56.3 millimeters lug to lug. Thankfully it has inverted end links. It is 21 millimeters thick. It's the chunkiest watch I've ever seen. Has a 22 millimeter lug width and weighs 269 grams on the supplied bracelet with 2 links removed. It's so heavy that I couldn't weigh it on my watch scale. I had to take it down to the kitchen and weigh it on the kitchen scale. The bezel is a fully loomed 120 click unidirectional, and the action is really good. Nice solid clicks, no back play, and enough resistance where you're not going to knock it out of place, which is good because this is such a big bezel. It would be easy to knock it out of place if it was too loose. And the bezel, though, instead of having minute markers, has hour markers. So I'm not sure why they went with that approach, but that's fine. It's still easy enough to use it as a timing bezel. Then we have the blue dial, and the blue is kind of hard to see. It depends on the angle and the light, but there's no sunburst effect. And as you can see too, there's kind of a pattern to it, kind of a matte pattern. Then we have applied indices, and they're really short. They barely stick up above the dial, but they are implied and they are fully loomed. And then we have the Feelnever name up top, and Feelnever does have a logo because it's on the crown, but you can barely see it. But yeah, that's the Feelnever logo, but they didn't put it on the dial. Then it says 50 bars, 500 meters. So yes, this is Probably the deepest watch I've ever received on AliExpress. And then it says automatic on the bottom, and this has a Miyota 8215, but this is the hacking version of it, so it's fairly newer, but it's still got that horrible secondhand stutter, typical of the Miyota 8215, which is my biggest complaint about that movement. And then we have the hand with this triple arrow counterbalance and this trapezoidal lollipop. And then we have the main hands, and we have a fence post minute hand and an arrow hour hand. And then we have a date at the 3, and the date does not hide the index all the way, so there is a little short index at the 3. The crown is a signed screw down crown. The crown guards, though, they're kind of sharp, so you will bang your finger against the crown guards, and you'd have to be careful, because I actually think it might be possible to cut them on this crown guard because it's so sharp. The crown action's fine. This, of course, is an 8215. Despite the secondhand stutter, it is a good movement. And then the thread action is really good. It catches right away when you screw it down. And I just wish the crown guards weren't so sharp. And it also has a helium escape valve. And you don't unscrew it, you just kind of pull it. So it's really not a manual helium escape valve, because it's going to let the helium escape. It sticks up above the case, where usually ones where you don't have to unscrew them usually are recessed into the case, but this one's not. So it's fine. A lot of people hate helium escape valves that stick up past the case. I don't mind them. I think it looks fine. Not a deal breaker with me, that's for sure. And then we have the sapphire crystal. It's domed, and I think it's double domed because I don't see a lot of distortion. And it's really thick, and I see a little blue tint, so it might have some AR coating. I'm not sure. It didn't say so in the ad, so I don't know if it does or not. The reflection is not too bad. I've seen a lot worse, but it's a nice crystal. You got to consider this is a 500 meter watch, so it's got to be fairly strong, so that's why it needs to be domed. Then we have the case. The case is a bead blasted stainless steel, and the finish is really nice. It's very even. I don't see any marks or anything, so I really like the finish. When I first unboxed this, I thought it might be titanium, but it was way too heavy for titanium. So yeah, this is all stainless steel, and it's a nice finish. I like it, and the bracelet matches it perfectly, so I really like that. And it's a thick one though, but a lot of the thickness comes from the case back, and a lot of it comes from the bezel. And the lugs curve down pretty good, so even though this is a big watch, it will fit a smaller wrist, especially since it has inverted end links. The case back is a screw down, and it has this global pattern on it, so that looks nice. Then it says water resistant, 500 meters, full stainless steel. And it says automatic movement, so they didn't limit themselves to the 8215 by putting it on the case back. So yeah, so it's a screw down case back, and it's got pretty good notches, so you should be able to take it off easy enough because you don't want to scratch up this nice matte finish. Then underneath the case back is the Miyota 8215, and this is a hacking version, just to let you know. I'll prove it. See, it hacks. And this is a 21 jewel movement that hand winds, hacks, has a unidirectional rotor, and is usually fairly accurate off the shelf. So let's put it on the time grapher and see how it's doing. Here it is on the time grapher. As you can see, it's running about 9 to 10 seconds fast, which is pretty good. As you can see, though, there's a lot of noise on the time grapher, and I think it's just due to the fact that the case is so thick that my time grapher is having a little trouble picking up everything, especially with the cloth around it to protect it. So I just have a feeling that if I didn't have the cloth around it, it would look a little bit smoother on the screen. There is some significant beat error though, but the amplitude's good. The bracelet has solid inverted end links, and then it's a 3-link oyster style where the center links are not polished. Fortunately, I think that would look awful if it was. So the center links have the same matte finish as the outer links. Then we have push pins, not screw pins. I'm perfectly happy with push pins. I never have to worry about them coming out when I usually do with screw pins. Then we have the clasp. The clasp is signed, and it is milled lower, but it's a pressed upper. And we only have 3 holes to micro adjust. I wish we had 4, because a watch this heavy, you're going to need the perfect fit. Fortunately, I was able to get the perfect fit, but your mileage may vary. But you're not going to want to change this clasp though because of the matte finish, because good luck finding one that's going to match the rest of the bracelet. Here's the watch on my 7.5-inch wrist. This is a big watch, but it fits my wrist fairly well. Yeah, it's chunky, but it's wearing probably as flat as possible considering how big the case back is. So yeah, it's a huge watch, but I think it wears a little bit smaller than the 48 millimeters and 21 millimeter width would indicate, or 21 millimeter height would indicate. Here we are in the Lume room. This watch has a fully Lume bezel, which is always nice. Let's see how good it is. As we speed up the time, the index lume fades almost immediately. It is so bad, why even bother? However, the hand and bezel lume is much better, and since the bezel has hour instead of minute markers, it is like the bezel is the lume indices that are now missing on the dial. This is pretty good, but not excellent lume. What do I like about this watch? Well, I think it's a nice looking watch, and I really like this bead blasted finish. I think it makes the watch look nice, and it has good bezel action with no back play. What are my gripes and groans? This watch is huge. It is the biggest, thickest, heaviest watch I've ever owned or reviewed. The crown guards are really sharp. You might bang up your finger and thumb trying to open it. And the index lume is practically non-existent. Do I recommend this watch? Yes, as long as you are not a one-watch person. If you are a collector, then it is fun to get out the beast every now and then. It is a nice-looking watch that is very well built for a very reasonable amount of money. And if anything, it feels very substantial. You may not need to go even 100 meters into the water, but that is not why we buy dive watches. My channel is called Fun with Watches, and this watch is indeed fun. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Feelnever FN1802, and I will be back with another review. Be sure and like and subscribe to my channel. Bye.